7 o'clock. So welcome to everybody who's here. We'll start out the forum tonight with our very own John, KM4KMU. Going to do a nice presentation about 2-meter contesting, I believe. So John, are you ready to go?
I am. Let me go ahead and share screen here. Well, good evening, everybody. John, KM4KMU here. And after a successful January VHF UHF contest where I talked to a lot of people on handhelds from about 80 miles away, I had a request to do a little presentation on VHF UHF contesting with the handheld radio. And it's really can be a heck of a lot of fun. You don't need a lot of effort, not to put a lot of money into it, to go out and have a really good time. One of the things about a VHF UHF contest is there's a heck of a lot of activity on FM simplex. So if you're a technician and you haven't done any or maybe not very many FM contacts on simplex and all your time has been on repeaters, one of the 3 annual VHF UHF contests is a great time to get out there and get on the air. There's usually a few things you want to do to prepare for it. Ideally, you'd like to have the best system possible. And interestingly, with the handheld, it costs very little to no money to actually improve the performance of your radio and actually get out and make a lot of contacts at ranges you might not otherwise imagine. So on this introductory screen here, if you look at the top of the screen, there's some photographs that show some of the simple things you can do to improve your radio's performance and make those 60, 80, 100, 150 mile QSOs with a 5-watt handheld. And the bottom of the screen is what happens if you lose your mind and decide to take contesting seriously. You go and spend money and build all kinds of craziness. You can have a heck of a lot of fun just with the HT. And some of the things you want to do with the handheld is, number one, you want to add what's called a tiger tail. That actually completes the second half of the antenna, provides the counterpoise to go with the antenna. So if you look at the first 2 photographs on the left, you'll see where someone's taken a ring lug and a length of wire between 19 and 20 inches long, put it on the ring lug, and then basically unscrewed the antenna, put the ring lug over the connector and screwed the antenna back on. This will typically give you about 3 dB more gain on the antenna, which tremendously helps both on the reception and the transmission. The other thing you can do is you can add an extendable whip antenna. They're about $15 if you go to someplace like DX Engineering. You can order one and, again, add another few dB again to your system. The other thing that's critically important is that you don't try and transmit from someplace that's effectively underground. You'd like a little bit of altitude. That could be putting a small antenna on a rooftop. It could be working from a balcony. It could be driving to the roof of a parking garage. Or if you're interested, you can take an afternoon and drive out into the mountains of Virginia, go down to Shenandoah Parkway or go up into Pennsylvania and get up on a high overlook. And particularly when you go outside the urban areas, you dramatically reduce the amount of noise that you're contending with. If you choose the spot wisely, you'll get close to a lot of big contest stations, but still be able to work people in the DC region. So as you head out 66 towards I-81, there's places near Bull Run Mountain, the Shenandoah Parkway, which are fantastic locations where you can very easily talk to people 60, 80, 100 miles away with an HT and a tiger tail on it. If you want to get a little fancier, what I show on the far right-hand side is a Diamond X50 antenna. That's a dual-band VHF UHF antenna for 70 centimeter and 2 meter. And you can get something like that and put it on a PVC pole, go to a location, maybe it's your house, maybe it's your roof, or maybe it's a hilltop, shove it in the ground, and use that and get a heck of a lot more gain. This is not a large investment. And on a contest weekend, particularly in the urban areas, there's going to be 100, 150 people up on the air. And if you have two bands, you can very easily make contact with maybe 50 to 75 of them on both 2 meter and 70 centimeter simplex. If you jump down to the next slide, you'll see kind of a bullet list of what it takes to operate effectively with a handheld. And, number one is adding that tiger tail. And it's a really simple thing to do. In fact, anybody with an HT probably ought to add one because you will definitely notice a big improvement in performance. The next thing to use an HT effectively is to get a better antenna, either an extendable whip that goes out several feet, or you can add an outside antenna like the X50 was one of my personal favorites. That gives you even more gain, and you don't need the tiger tail with that because it has a grounding system built into it. And then after that, you're really after altitude. And that can be as simple as going to a second floor window in the house, putting an antenna on the roof, driving to a parking garage, or going out in the country someplace. And we are truly blessed here in Virginia with some beautiful overlooks and views that face towards the DC area, where there are a lot of amateur radio operators. And every year before one of these contests, I email 300 to 400 amateur radio operators in the area, asking them to get up on the air. And a good number of them do. And that adds a heck of a lot of activity. So if you get up on the air with the handheld, you'll be able to make contact with quite a few people. If you get to a hilltop, you might start looking at going out, 100, 150 miles. And that is a heck of a lot of fun to realize that 5 watts can go that far. And that really has to do with getting that line of sight that you may not have from inside the urban environment. A couple of examples of experiences I've had working with HTs. My station with the beams and sitting on a hilltop, and I'm not uncommon. There's at least 3 stations in the region that do that. I've been able to work guys on a Baofeng with actually the rubber duck antenna at 150 miles. They were hiking to a hilltop in central Pennsylvania, and we were able to do a contest QSO from there. I talked to a young fella in Rockville, Virginia, from central Virginia, west of Harrisonburg, about 120, 130 miles. And he was in just a hilltop in a public park in the middle of Rockville, Maryland. And we were able to make an effective contact. And then this last January, I'd say there were between 15 and 20 people that were on handhelds, either had parked their cars at a high spot or were working from their decks or backyards that were in the DC area. And that was roughly 70 miles from where I was located at. And we worked 2 meter, 70 centimeter, and in a few cases even 223.5, 1.25 meter. And I'm not the only person that's looking forward to folks being on HTs. I mentioned contest stations. There is one very large station, K8GP. They're going to run 1,500 watts with large antennas. They're going to spend a fair amount of time on FM like I do. I'm an FM contest only. They run all the bands and all the modes, but they have found that FM provides about half of their contacts during a contest. There's so much activity to be had here in the Northern Virginia area around DC and Winchester that they will spend about half their time just working FM contacts to build up the number of points they get. Another station that's going to be out there is going to be W4IY. That's another big contest station. They're going to be on Flagpole Knob. That's just west of Harrisonburg. And they will also be spending some time on FM working folks in the area. They're a little bit of a longer haul from the DC area for an HT. But if you can add an improved antenna like the X50 Diamond, you really shouldn't have any trouble reaching them on 5 watts. They run some fairly large beams with their setups. And then there will be, of course, myself sitting over on Friesland Road, just on the east side of Winchester. And I would say that last January was exceptionally busy. I was shocked at the number of folks that came up on HTs and we made QSOs with. And the nice thing about being in the urban area is all these folks with mobile rigs and base stations and HTs that are getting on the air in the urban Washington, D.C. area, whether that's Chantilly or Vienna, McLean, Rockville, in that area, you're going to be able to work them a whole lot easier, perhaps, than working those of us that are much further out in range. So you should find it to be a fairly active event here in June. And there is a contest coming up. I think it's the 12th of June, the second full, I think it's the weekend after the second or before the second full week of June. I'll have to check the dates on that. But if you look up June VHF UHF Contest, you'll get the dates for it. And even if you don't go any place or make any changes, turn on your HT, go to the simplex frequencies, particularly 2 meter, and give a listen. I think you'll be surprised what you hear. As I mentioned, what is it you think you can expect from different locations? And so the little bullet chart here talks about handhelds with either a whip antenna or maybe that's from a QTH or maybe that's gone mobile to a hilltop, and the kind of range you could expect working a contest station. So in the regional area, or right around the DC region, you can expect to go about 15 miles in the urban area if you're up on a rooftop with your antenna. If you're working one of the bigger contest stations, you'll easily get 60 miles, maybe a little more. I've done further than that, but consistently 60 miles is a good radius. That's certainly enough to hit both me and K8GP, and then everybody that's in the local area is going to be within 15 miles on you. If you seek a high spot inside the DC area, and I picked one of my favorites here, which is a parking lot in Tyson's Corner, right above the Busara restaurant. It's fairly easy with an HT to reach out 30 to 80 miles. Again, you're going to have some noise from the city that might limit your receive capability. Now, once you break outside the city and you get clear of that noise, you can go someplace like Friesland Road, just a little bit north of Linden, Virginia. That gets you up to about 2,400 feet. And there's a number of turnouts on Friesland Road. I'm going to be working the one that's on the extreme north end of Friesland Road. And probably the next best one up in that area is the Trillium Trail turnout. And it's got a nice big parking area. From there with an HT, and I've done it from there, you can go out 40 to 100 miles, depending who you're talking to. And certainly there's going to be a number of rovers that are going to be up in that area as well as contest stations. And 40 miles from the Trillium Trail turnout is a pretty good distance. You won't get up into PA necessarily unless there's somebody closer down to the border, but you can most certainly get into most of Maryland, if not all of it from there. If you make the trek and go up on Shenandoah Parkway, you can get some serious altitude of about 3,000 to 4,000 feet, and you're going to have overlooks that will easily let you get out between 80 and 150 miles. I said 80 miles with no problem with the HT and the whip that comes with it, and then 150 miles if you make some improvements to that antenna and catch one of the contest stations. There's going to be a lot of folks within your reach if you go up there. And what's kind of fun about driving around is you can change grid squares. I'll talk about roving in just a second. That's a little bit of a different animal. But if you just want to get out and chat with a lot of people, the June VHF UHF contest with a handheld is really all you need. Now, one of the things you'll have to deal with if you go to the wrong location is what's called QRM, man-made noise. And if you get too close to one of the big contest stations, and I'll pick on K8GP because they're going to run 1,000 to 1,500 watts on all bands. If you're up on Shawnee Land, which is a development that's just west of Winchester, they're about 2,500 feet. you'll be fairly close to KHEP. And when they key up, they'll pretty much wash out anything you're doing. But it is a great location. You've got most of the Shenandoah Valley laid out in front of you, and you can reach out into the D.C. area from there. That's why they work from that area. Flagpole Knob, which is down a not a rough trail, but an off-road trail. You can take a pickup truck down. It'll a high clearance two-wheel drive. That's where W4IY is going to be. And that will be very, very loud if you don't try and go down to Flagpole. Reddish Knob is about 2 miles away from Flagpole, and it's about 500 feet higher, and it's a beautiful asphalt road. When you get up to Reddish Knob, if you're interested in going out in the country and touring around, you have a 360-degree view in all directions, and you're right on top of actually one of the big listening facilities that belong to DOD. But you're a temporary station, so you're not going to really cause any problem there. They're kind of used to that happening. Ham's coming up there. But if you decide to go out in the country, Shenandoah Parkway, Friesland Road, and then I'd say Reddish Knob is a really great one to go to. Last year, we had 150 separate stations within about 50-mile radius of Washington, D.C. that got up on the air. And it was amazing to see all the activity. From the start of that contest in January, which was 2 p.m. on Saturday, until pretty much 11 p.m. Sunday night, it was constant activity, all on simplex. And the frequency you want to work there is 146.520. That's the national calling frequency. And if you have an opportunity to get on there, please do so. I think you'll find a lot of folks to work. So a few other notes to using your HT if you're going to get up in contest. I have the dates here. It starts at June 12th, and it runs until 11 p.m. on the 13th. There's 2 frequencies you want to be able to work. Both are available on your handheld. That's 146.520 and 446. Something a lot of people do is they forget to turn off their repeater shift. And this is a real common problem with handhelds and mobile rigs. So make sure you do turn your repeater shift off. And if you have a Yaesu, make sure wires is turned off as well. It's another common problem. You don't have to work the whole contest every minute. Do it for a few hours from home, jump in the car, go to a hillside, take the XYL for a nice drive in the country, not telling her, of course, that you're going up to a hilltop to do radio work. Take her for a nice dinner someplace out there and have a good time on the weekend. Make it fun. You'll be surprised what happens when you get up to high altitude and how far you can go. One of the things you do want to be careful of is when you're using 146.520, which is a national calling frequency, you do want to leave space for people who are trying to reach buddies to set up QSOs to go ahead and set those QSOs up and then QSY or move to a different frequency. So if you hear someone call CQ and a call sign, or they just call CQ, give them a second to make the contact thereafter, especially if they're calling a specific call, versus someone who's calling CQ contest. You can jump all over them or answer them if you want. But contesting is secondary on the national calling frequency. Another thing you'll need to do if you want to give out points, which is the whole fun of this, is to talk to a lot of people and do the contest exchange, is to know what your grid square is. So a lot of folks in the area are going to be in, FM 18 or FM 19. That's your 4-digit grid square. And you'll see that listed in QRZ if you go there and look up your call sign. If you know your 6-digit call, that's sometimes helpful when you're trying to talk to somebody that's very far away. And there are a range of stations up in Pennsylvania with big beams who may actually ask for your 6-digit grid so they can dial you in and make the contact. If you want to submit a log, which is a fairly easy thing to do, you want to have pencil and paper handy so you can write down the call sign of the person you talked to, the grid square they were in, and then the time in UTC or Zulu that the contact occurred at. And those are the sorts of things you submit in a log to get points or to win a little piece of paper to hang on the wall. Be careful that if you work someone who is a rover or a mobile, that you record them properly. Rovers, you always want to record as a /R. Mobiles, generally, we also record as /R because they're moving around, even if they don't go to multiple grid squares. And so if you're interested in submitting a log, there's the website for it. You don't have to do it, but you never know what you might win, a little piece of paper for doing well in the region. And you can have a lot of fun with that. I mentioned rovers, and I'll give you a little bit of detail on that. Rovers are stations that drive around from grid to grid. So they may start in the Washington, D.C. area in FM 18. They might drive up to FM 19 in Maryland, maybe go over to FM 09 near Winchester. And you can hop around like that. And every time you change grids, you can talk to the same people over again, which adds up even more points. And each grid you visit, and each time you talk to someone in another grid, are multipliers, and they build a tremendous score. Now, you're not going to do well with FM only on an HT in any contest, even if you are roving. But it's a heck of a lot of fun to get out in the car and travel around, and you can explore lots of high places in the area. So if there's a hilltop that you've always been interested in up in Maryland, go up there. If you want to go to a hilltop, somewhere in the Shenandoah Parkway, give it a try. I actually have about 6 or 8, that's about 8 locations I've identified within an easy, maybe 1 hour drive of Washington, D.C., that are great operating spots for rovers. And if somebody wants to send me an email, I'll be happy to pass that information to them. Anyone that has any questions, again, send me an email or come back right here, during the meeting, and I'll be happy to talk a little more about it. But that's kind of the basics of it. Take your HT, improve the antenna a little bit, add a tiger tail to it, try and find a little bit of altitude, anything from being on the roof of your house to driving to a high spot. And I think you'll be amazed. The HTs will go a heck of a lot further than just a mile or two or just getting out to a repeater once you put some altitude and a little bit of gain behind them. And with that, I'll turn it back over to the host for any questions or comments.
Thank you, John. Got any questions out there? I kind of wanted to, I know I see you at Field Day every year with the Mad Max Jeep, and it's pretty awesome, but it seems like there's a lot more we could be doing during Field Day. Do you think that we might be able to do a bit more?
Well, certainly during Field Day, VHF UHF is a free station to the club. So any points you gather on VHF UHF contribute to the club score, but they don't count against your total number of stations. One of the things that a number of other clubs do is they will actually send guys out with either mobile rigs with mag mount antennas or handhelds, and they will get to a high spot and do a QSO. Now, grids don't count during Field Day activity. It's just the gross number of contacts you make. But certainly you can do a lot of inter-club contacts that way, as long as I guess there's probably a minimum separation distance from the Field Day site you have to be. So it can certainly help.
Hey, John, Mike Imany, thanks for the presentation. So submitting a log, what happens if you work like 50 stations and you don't submit a log? Do the other guys get penalized?
No, they do not. In VHF UHF contesting, unlike HF contesting, if somebody, if you work a station and they do not submit a log, one of two things occur. Either that station is considered a unique if they spoke to nobody else during the contest. So, Mike, if I talk to you and I put you in my log and I submit you, and you talk to nobody else, because I'm the only log you showed up in, you're considered a unique. If you show up in multiple logs, then there's a lot of confidence you are probably a real contact. And the reason that is important is there have been cases where people have simply gone through QRZ, written down a bunch of call signs, faked up the times, and submitted logs in VHF UHF with massive scores. Fortunately, there's been a real good statistical analysis of how many uniques a station typically gets. And when a station kind of stands out as having a bizarrely large number of uniques, ARRL will actually call a few of them and verify that they're real. And I've seen a number of folks disqualified because they had 90% uniques, whereas in FM, we'll typically run 60 to 70% uniques. And people will hit the 90% level, and ARRL will check and they get disqualified. So no, you do not have to submit a log for your QSO to count. You only need to submit a log if you'd like to be eligible to win one of the regional or divisional awards.
Kind of giggling here to myself that people actually cheat.
Oh, yes.
On a UHF VHF contest.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you hear about an HF. I mean, it's a big deal. And we actually had a case, I think it was 2 years ago. Somebody submitted a score, and understand, the highest score ever had been like 7,300 points. And someone who had never entered an FM contest before scored 9,900. And it was a weird number one. Nobody had ever heard of this person before, number two. And ARRL checked, and sure enough, the whole thing was bogus. And actually, that same year, somebody else did the same thing. We had 2 cases of it in the same year. And they were just oddball scores, but the uniques were up in the 80, 90% range. And it's all for it's a piece of paper. My goodness, how can you look at that on the wall and not feel bad about yourself being, a cheater?
You say to use the national calling frequencies throughout the contest. Is there one like other frequencies that get used? And when trying to make a QSO, do you change frequencies often to complete one?
Generally, all of your contacts will start on 146.520, the national calling frequency. Now, I've seen this over the last 2 years. The level of FM activity has gotten so large in the DC area during these contests that we actually get crowded on 520, and people are stomping on each other. So folks will often shift either up 15 or down 15. So, go to 146.535 or go up to 146.50, get off 520 and make a QSO there, or they'll just call CQ up there when 520 is jammed, and then they'll come back to 520 a little bit. The other thing that'll happen is, and this is in the QSYs, you get more points. You get 1 point for a 2-meter contact. It's 2 points for a 70-centimeter contact. So you'll talk to somebody on 2-meter at 146.520. You'll make the grid square and call sign exchange, and then you'll ask them, do you have 70-centimeter? Can we QSY to 446? And then you'll jump up to the national calling frequency on 70-centimeter. And that happens all the time. And in fact, this last January, we consistently saw anytime one of the big stations, K8GP, myself in particular, and then W4OZH, who's a rover, anytime we would QSY a station, we get like 4 or 5 more stations that would follow with us. So we'd end up QSYing, and we'd have a group that would follow with us up to the new frequency, and we'd all work each other up there. And so we would QSY to 70-centimeter. Everybody would work 70. We'd drop down to 1.25 meter. Then we go down to 6 meter. And you'd see the whole group, come with us for all the bands they had available. And it's exciting. It gets busy, and I'm hoping that this June will be similar, because it's a heck of a lot of fun. You think you got someone, you're making the QSO, then somebody steps on top of it and it breaks, and you got to come back and try it again, or you get them and you QSY to a different frequency. Say you go down to 535 on 2 meters, you work them, you go up to 446, and there's 6 other people up there, and so you all start taking turns exchanging calls and grids. So when it gets busy like that's when it gets kind of exciting. You do see the pileups. It's not like on HF where everyone's just out for blood. FM, VHF UHF is a little more genteel. There's going to be some rag chews. There'll be a little bit of conversation going on, particularly as it gets later at night. Midnight Saturday night, there's probably 7 or 8 of us that are still on the air banging away, and some new person shows up and we all jump on them. And this happened to a number of folks with HTs on late Saturday night and again Sunday morning in the DC metro area. They got on to make a contact that they normally do with a buddy. They have a scheduled Sunday morning chit chat, and all of a sudden here came 8 or 10 people begging for a contact. The other thing we see a lot is the I call them the church nets. There are groups of hams who on their drive to church in the morning will hold like a little QSO party. And now after 6 years of doing this, they've come to realize that on contest weekends, as soon as they come up on the air, there's going to be a half dozen people begging for contacts. So most of them, they've shifted their church nets up or down 15 megahertz or 15 kilohertz to hold those. But they will frequently, have their church net, and when they get home or on the drive home, they'll jump on to 520 and kind of join in the fun. And it is enjoyable. The more folks out there, the better time it is. And the HT guys, the ones who have never done this before, seem to have the most fun of all because it's just something brand new. And, you wouldn't think there'd be 8 people trying to reach you on your HT on simplex. But it definitely does happen. All right, well, let me throw this out there. Please send me an email if anybody has a question after the fact, or they see this presentation, after it's over and it's up on the web. Feel free to send me an email. Be happy to answer questions. Happy to send you a list of great sites to work in the Northern Virginia area, Southern Pennsylvania, Maryland. There's lots of great places to go and a lot of fun to be had out there. Thank you for the opportunity to present this. I really appreciate it.